Hi, this is Scoggett, and today I'm going to show you how to make some pinto beans. I have had a viewer send me an email and told me that he didn't know how to make pinto beans and asked me if I might someday do a video on it. So that's what I'm doing today. Is I'm doing a video on how I make pinto beans on the stove. There's different ways to make them. You can make them in the crock pot, on the stove. Just there's endless ways to do it. And also with the seasoning, what you put in them, it's endless also. You can put tomato sauce, you can put onions, you can put bell peppers, you can put all kinds of spices in them. It's all up to you how you want to do it. What I'm going to show you is how I make the pinto beans and the kind of pinto beans what I use. The kind what I always use is casserole. I found that these are the best pinto beans around. When you go to sort them, they don't have a whole lot of rocks in them, and or any dirt or debris or anything. I sometimes find a little bit of them, the dirt and debris, rocks, but it's very seldom. I believe they come from the factory already pre-washed and everything, but I still wash mine. And I'll go ahead and show you how to sort through them. This is right at a little bit over a cup of pinto beans. This is the way they look. And when you sort through them, you just kind of look through there, and you can spread them out on the table if you like. And it's easier to do it that way. That's usually the way I do it. Is just spread them out on the table and then just look through them and let them drop in the colander. And you just kind of look through them. And I've already sorted through these. And this is what I found is I just found somewhat split in half. The beans are split in half. And if the beans don't look right, like this one's solid white looking, I pulled that one out. But that's what you do is just kind of sort through them. And the next thing you want to do whenever you go to cooking them, you want to, of course, wash them off. And you're also going to need a pot to cook them in. I have this sturdy pot, what I use all the time. And if you make 1 quart of pinto beans, if you make 1 cup of pinto beans, you want 1 quart of water. And you want the water to come to a rolling boil. So I'll go over here and to the sink, and we'll get these washed off real good. Now what you do is you just kind of wash them off, rinse them off to get all the dirt. If there's any dirt or anything, it'll go ahead and wash off, and it'll drop through the colander, the holes in the colander. Come back over here now. As you can see, my pot's got the water which is reached boiling point. And what I'm going to do now is just drop the beans inside the water. We'll just let them boil a while. Kind of stir them up a little bit. And you want to let them boil. The way I do it is I let them boil until the beans starts kind of floating to the top. Whenever they start, they'll start floating to the top. And whenever they do, that's when I go ahead and cut my heat down. And I cut it down to a simmer and let it simmer for about 2.5, 3 hours. And they come out perfect every time. A lot of people say, oh, you got to soak beans overnight and all that. I've never soaked my beans. I never do. I just sort them, put them in the pot, and cook them, and they come out perfect. Okay, they're starting to come to the top a little bit here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to cut the heat down to a simmer. Put the lid on. After they come to a center, after they get through simmering, after about an hour, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some Lowry seasoning salt to them. And just pour some of that in there just to add a little bit of flavor to the beans. Like I say, there's different varieties of ways you can cook it. If you want to put onion in it, you can put onion, you can put ham in it, you can put bacon in it. All kinds of spices. I mean, anything you like, you can put in it. I found out that I just like the Lowry seasoning salt in my beans, and they come out just the way I like them. And there's old rumors going around saying, oh, if you put salt in your beans, it's going to toughen them up. They're going to make them tough. That's a bunch of monotony, malarkey or whatever, because I cooked them both ways. I cooked them with the salt, and I cooked them without the salt, and they come out the same. So that's just old wives' tale, as far as I'm concerned. What I'm going to do is make this in 2 parts. And this is the first part, and then I'm going to show you after 2.5, 3 hours, after about 2.5 to 3 hours, I'm going to show you the finished product and show you how they come out and everything. And something else is, what I forgot to tell you is, if you use a pot, you want to be sure and use one big enough so that the beans can expand, because they're going to bloat out and expand, and you need a big enough pot to handle that. And something else is, if you keep an eye on them, and you need to make sure they have enough water, because if they ever run out of water and you got them on the stove, it's going to scorch them, and then you're going to really have some problems. So be sure they got enough water in them. And something else is, whenever you add water, you always want to make sure that the water's hot. Don't ever put cold water in it. Make sure the water's hot. I'll be back with the second part to this video, and I appreciate you watching. Leave a comment. I appreciate the comments, and y'all take care.